Dad banned me from the family barbecue. "You're a disgrace to our name," he said. I wrote back. "Then you don't need my help with the mortgage anymore." And then, it was supposed to be just another family barbecue. You know, the usual chaos. Kids chasing each other around the backyard, my mom fussing over the grill like Gordon Ramsay, my father parked in his favorite lawn chair sipping cheap beer and pretending he wasn't watching everyone like a hawk. I'd missed the last two, buried in work and life, so this one felt important. It was my chance to finally show up with something, someone, worth showing. Her name was Jordan. Confident. Warm. Smarter than anyone I'd ever dated. She walked into that yard like she'd always belonged, shaking hands, offering that easy smile of hers. She was successful in ways my family couldn't understand, a tech entrepreneur with a background nothing like ours. City-bred, private school, the kind of life my dad always found suspicious. At first, everyone played nice. My mom complimented Jordan's shoes, my youngest niece sat in her lap like they'd known each other forever, and even my brother, always quick to judge, seemed impressed. But then my dad started asking questions. Where was she from? What did her parents do? And when she answered calm and matter-of-fact, something in him turned cold. His smile faded, his eyes narrowed. And I felt it before he even said a word, that tightening in my chest, the kind that warned me a storm was coming. He stood up slowly, made his way over, and with the whole family watching, he pointed at Jordan like she was a stranger who'd wandered in off the street. "You bring her here?" he said. "You're a disgrace to our name." Silence. I thought I misheard. I really did. I blinked. Jordan sat frozen. My mom's face went pale. I stepped forward. "Dad, what are you talking about?" But he wasn't talking to me anymore. He turned his back, waving me off like I wasn't even worth the breath. "You're not welcome here," he said. "Get out. And don't come back." My mother didn't say a word. My siblings avoided eye contact. No one defended us. So I left. Jordan held my hand the whole ride home, but I could feel it, her confusion, her shock. And maybe some doubt. I didn't blame her. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the words ringing in my head. A disgrace. Not welcome. So I picked up my phone. No dramatics. No essays. Just one sentence. "Then you don't need my help with the mortgage anymore." I hit send. And just like that, everything started to unravel. 3 days. That's how long it took for the first ripple to hit. My father didn't respond to the text. Not right away. Typical. Silence was his preferred weapon. But I knew better than to expect gratitude. I wasn't looking for a thank you. I just wanted the weight off my back, the one I'd carried for 7 years without so much as an acknowledgement. The mortgage had been under my name since 2016. Not officially, of course. But it was my bank account that the automatic payments came from, month after month. My dad's pride wouldn't let him admit that his pension barely covered the electric bill, let alone a 2-story house in the suburbs. So I picked up the slack quietly. And they let me. Every month. Until I became inconvenient. Until my success, my life, my choices didn't align with whatever fantasy my dad had about what a son should be. On the 4th morning, I logged into the mortgage portal and removed my payment method. No drama. No letter. Just a deletion. By the end of the week, I got a call from my mom. She didn't mention the barbecue. Or Jordan. Or what my father had said. Instead, she opened with, "Sweetheart, the mortgage company called. Something about a missed payment?" I let the silence sit. Then I said, "You'll have to ask Dad." There was a long pause. A sigh. "Please don't do this. He was just upset." "I was upset, Mom. But I didn't scream at someone and throw them out of a backyard. You know how he is." "Yes. And now he knows how I am." I hung up. That month, the payment bounced. The next, they defaulted. And suddenly the silence turned into noise. My brother Scott called in a panic. "Did you stop paying the house? You can't just do that." My sister Lacey chimed in too. You know Mom can't handle that kind of stress. I reminded her that I wasn't the one who yelled at a guest like a madman. Lacey groaned. It was just a misunderstanding. No. It was clarity. I could hear her swallow hard. That month, I didn't just stop the mortgage. I stopped helping with Scott's rent shortfall, too. I paused the autopay for Lacey's kids' tuition. One by one, the pieces fell. They'd never thanked me. But they noticed when it was gone. By the third month, the panic set in. Scott called me from a parking lot somewhere, whispering like he was in witness protection. Look, man, I know things got tense, but Mom and Dad, they're not doing great. The bank sent another letter. I said nothing. You know they could lose the house, right? I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. They might. He waited. Hoped maybe that I'd cave. But I didn't. Scott had never really seen me. None of them had. I was the one who showed up with solutions, who paid the bills they didn't know how to open. When the power got shut off that one summer, I paid it from a vacation fund I'd been building for years. When Lacey's youngest needed braces, I pulled from my emergency savings. I made sacrifices they never saw, just so they could breathe easier. They mistook my silence for duty. They thought I was fine because I never made them feel the weight of it. But now they were feeling it. And the cracks were beginning to show. Lacey texted one night around midnight. Just a screenshot, an overdue notice for her son's school. I didn't know, she wrote. I didn't realize how much you were covering. I stared at it. I wanted to feel vindicated. But all I felt was hollow. My mother left a voicemail the next day. Her voice was tight, like she'd been crying. Your father doesn't sleep. He just sits in the living room all night. We could lose everything. Please. Come by. Just talk to him. No apology. Just a plea. I played it twice, then deleted it. That weekend, the foreclosure notice went up on the house. Bright red letters, posted like a public shaming. The neighbors definitely noticed. I didn't respond to the calls after that. Not right away. I wanted them to sit with it. To see what it looked like when the person they leaned on disappeared. To know what it felt like to be powerless. Like I had felt, sitting in that backyard, being told I was a disgrace, for bringing a woman who loved me. It was my younger brother, Jake, the so-called golden child, who finally cracked. The one my dad always called the future of this family. The one who could do no wrong, even when he dropped out of college twice, even when he couldn't hold a job longer than 6 months. The one they never asked to contribute a cent, because he just needed time to figure things out. Jake called me late one Thursday. Not a casual call. No, hey, how've you been? Just 5 words. Can we talk? In person. I agreed, more out of curiosity than charity. We met at a diner halfway between our places. He looked thinner. Eyes sunken, like he hadn't slept much. The kind of tired that isn't just physical, it's existential. He sat across from me, fidgeting with a coffee stirrer. Dad's not talking to anyone. He just sits there. Mom's trying to keep it together, but she's cracking. I nodded. And? Jake stared down at his hands. They might lose the house, Tom. They will lose the house. I corrected him. That train's already left the station. He looked up at me. Why didn't you say anything? I didn't know you were covering everything. I leaned back, folding my arms. Because it was never about credit, Jake. I did it so you all wouldn't fall apart. But you still did. The moment I stopped. He blinked. So that's it? You're just done? I was done the minute Dad called me a disgrace in front of everyone. Jake was quiet for a long time. Finally, he whispered, I didn't think he meant it. He did. And you didn't defend me. None of you did. He rubbed his face, looking like a man who had just been handed the bill for a feast he never realized he was eating. I don't know what to do, he said. I leaned forward. You grow up. You figure it out. Just like I did. He nodded slowly. The golden child, finally feeling the weight of real life. As I left the diner, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clear. The illusion had shattered. And in its place was something I never had before. Distance. And with it peace. The next knock came not on my phone, but on my door. I opened it to find my mother standing there, clutching a zip-up sweater like armor, her eyes red-rimmed and tired. She looked smaller than I remembered. Like the house, her world, was shrinking around her, and she didn't know how to hold it together anymore. "I didn't know where else to go," she said. I stepped aside. She walked in like someone who expected to be told to leave. I didn't offer coffee. We just sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I used to write out their bills, balance their budget, and silently move money from my savings to keep the lights on in a home I didn't live in. "I want to apologize," she said softly. That got my attention. My mother never apologized, not in words. Her guilt was always expressed in casseroles and knitted scarves. "For the barbecue?" I asked. "For everything," she whispered. She twisted a napkin in her hands. "You know your father, he's proud. Too proud. And he was angry that day. About you, about her, about feeling like he doesn't recognize the man you've become." I raised an eyebrow. "And why is that such a bad thing?" She hesitated. "Because he thought he was supposed to shape you. And you shaped yourself instead." That hit something in me. "I spent years holding you all up," I said. Quietly. Without asking for thanks. "And when I finally show up with someone who makes me happy, he tears me down." She nodded, eyes shining. "I know. Do you?" I asked. She looked up at me, finally looked, and for a moment I saw the woman who used to tuck me in after nightmares. Not the one who'd been silent while I was humiliated, but the one who used to hum old country songs to calm me down. "I let it happen," she said. "Because I didn't want to lose him. But I lost you instead." The room went still. I didn't say anything for a long time. Finally I stood, walked to the counter, and poured her a glass of water. "I can't fix this for you," I said, setting it down in front of her. "Not this time." She didn't argue. She just nodded and sipped the water like it hurt going down. Before she left, she turned in the doorway. "He's not the same, Tom. He's unraveling. So let him," I said. She nodded. And then she was gone. It was a Wednesday morning when I drove by the old house, my parents' house. Not to snoop, not even out of curiosity. Just instinct. A gravitational pull to the place that had once felt like a lighthouse, back before I knew I was the one keeping the bulb lit. The grass had started to grow wild, creeping up over the sidewalk like nature was taking back what we'd abandoned. The mailbox leaned to one side, duct-taped around the base. And the windows, those tall bay windows my mother used to polish every Sunday, were smudged and pale, like they hadn't been touched in weeks. There was a bright orange notice on the door. "Final warning before repossession." My name was nowhere on it. That was deliberate. I had made sure of it. I didn't stop. Just slowed down enough to absorb the scene and then kept driving. The next week, I heard from Lacey again. She wanted to meet. Said she needed to talk face to face, and this time, she brought coffee. The bribe of the guilty. We sat on a bench outside a strip mall, the smell of bagels drifting from the bakery next door. "I just want to say, I didn't realize what you were doing," she began. "I didn't understand how much you were carrying." I nodded. "Most people don't realize until they lose something." She looked away. "We might have to move in with Scott. That's between you and Scott." She blinked. "You're really not going to help, are you?" I was helping. For years. And no one noticed. Now that I've stopped, you want to notice? Her shoulders slumped. "It's just hard." I leaned back. "It's always been hard. I just never said it out loud." She reached into her bag and pulled out a crumpled envelope. "I found this. Mom wrote it. She never gave it to you." I hesitated, then took it. The handwriting was hers, slanted and rushed. The paper was soft at the edges. I didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, I looked at Lacey. "You all built a life assuming I'd keep catching the pieces. You never asked if I wanted to. You just assumed I would. Her eyes glistened. We were selfish. Yeah, I said. You were. And I stood up. Not angry. Not triumphant. Just done. I finally opened the letter that night. I sat at my kitchen table with a glass of bourbon and unfolded the paper like it was something fragile, some artifact from a version of my mother that might have spoken sooner if she'd had the courage. It was short. Apologetic. Handwritten in shaky lines. Tom, I know I should have stood up for you. I should have stopped him that day. But I was scared, of losing him, of breaking what little peace we had left. You were always stronger than me. Always quieter, but stronger. I'm sorry we let you carry everything. I'm sorry we made you feel small in a house you helped keep standing. Please don't hate me. Love, Mom. I didn't cry. I didn't feel relief either. Just confirmation. That everything I'd suspected was real. That my silence all those years hadn't been invisible. Just ignored. A few days later, my father called me. I didn't answer the first time. Or the second. But the third time, I picked up. Not because I wanted to talk, but because I was curious what he'd sound like now. His voice was smaller. Slower. The pride still there, buried under exhaustion. I don't know how this happened, he said. You told me I was a disgrace, I said flatly. He cleared his throat. I didn't mean. You meant it. Silence. I made mistakes, he finally said. I let that sit for a moment, then asked, What do you want from me? He didn't answer at first. Then, I want to fix things. I laughed, but it wasn't cruel. Just tired. You want to fix things because the house is slipping through your fingers. Not because you miss me. Or respect me. You want a reset button. More silence. You're my son, he said. Was I your son when you humiliated me in front of the whole family? Was I your son when I was paying your mortgage every month, and you never once said thank you? He didn't answer. I was the foundation, I said. And you spat on it. And then I hung up. For good this time. They showed up at my door 2 days later, Mom, Scott, and Lacey. No pretense. No smiles. Just 3 people standing in the hallway of my apartment like kids caught in a storm they didn't see coming. I didn't let them in. I stepped outside, shut the door behind me, and stood there quietly. Lacey was the first to speak. We're sorry, she said. No preamble. Just that. We took advantage of you. Scott nodded beside her, eyes on the floor like a teenager waiting for judgment. My mother held a small manila envelope in her hands. The bank officially started foreclosure. We have 60 days. I said nothing. We don't know where we're going to go, she continued. Your father, he hasn't spoken to anyone in 2 days. He just sits in the den. You want me to save the house? I asked. No, Scott said quickly. No, we're not asking for that, Lacey chimed in. We just wanted to say it. Out loud. That we were wrong. That we know now. I looked at all 3 of them. My mother, once so composed, now looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. My siblings, standing side by side like the bond they'd built without me was finally cracking. I'm not angry anymore, I said. But I'm not coming back. Lacey's eyes welled up. We understand. I gave up a lot for all of you. Dreams, time, money. And when I finally stood up for myself, you treated me like I was the problem. My mother reached out, hesitated, then dropped her hand. We didn't know how much we were leaning on you. You leaned until I broke, I said. And then you blamed me for falling. Nobody spoke for a while. Then I said, I'll help with a storage unit if you need one. For the house. But that's all. I'm not rescuing you. Not again. They nodded. Even Scott. Then they turned to leave. And I didn't stop them. I didn't go back to the house. I didn't need to. The stories came to me anyway, like whispers carried by the wind. Lacey texted once a week with updates she never explicitly asked if I wanted. The bank came by again today. We sold the dining table on Facebook Marketplace. Scott and Mom got into a fight about who's keeping the dog. I read them without replying. Sometimes I'd look up from my coffee and wonder how many versions of me they'd created in their heads: savior, traitor, disappointment, stranger. Did they argue about who was most to blame? Did Dad still walk into the living room and expect the lights to be on, forgetting that he was no longer buffered by my invisible hand? Jordan, bless her, never asked for the full story. She knew better than to push. She just sat beside me on the balcony some nights, her hand resting on mine, eyes scanning the city skyline like we were watching the past smolder somewhere beneath it. "You okay?" she asked once. I thought about that for a long time. "I'm not sure," I finally said. "But I feel lighter." She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. 2 weeks before the official foreclosure date, my father called me one last time. This time, I answered, not out of pity, but because I needed to hear it. Needed to see what remained. His voice had changed. He didn't launch into anything. No anger. No sarcasm. Just one sentence. "We're losing the house." I leaned against the counter. "Yeah." A pause. "I kept waiting for you to show up. Like you always did." "That's the problem, Dad," I said quietly. "You always waited. You never asked? You never thought you needed to ask." There was a rustling on the line. Maybe a deep breath. Maybe his pride trying to claw its way back in. "I didn't know how to be a father to a son like you," he said. "I didn't expect that. I was proud of you. I just didn't know how to say it without feeling small." I stared at the fridge. A magnet from that first barbecue I'd brought Jordan to still hung there. A stupid souvenir from a summer day turned bitter. "You weren't supposed to be small," I said. "You were supposed to lead. And when you couldn't, you should have let someone else step up instead of punishing them for trying." Silence. Then a sigh. "Your mother's sleeping on the couch," he said. "She can't walk past the boxes without crying." I said nothing. "I thought I'd have more time. I thought you'd always be there." And just like that, I saw him clearly, not the towering man who could ruin a weekend with a glare, not the man who barked orders and expected loyalty without gratitude, but a man unraveling, lost in the quiet space where control used to live. "I was there," I said. "Until I wasn't." He didn't argue. Before hanging up, he whispered, "I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed you to know that I'm sorry." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "I know," I said. "But I still can't come back." Then I ended the call. It felt like something sacred and final. Like the last line of a book you know you'll never reread, but will never forget. 2 weeks later, the house was gone. They moved in with Scott. The house was auctioned off quietly, no family gathering, no final photo on the porch. Just gone, like it had never belonged to any of us. And me? I started waking up without checking my bank account in dread. I'd booked a weekend trip with Jordan, no spreadsheet required. I looked in the mirror and saw someone I hadn't seen in years, a man living for himself. One night, over dinner, Jordan asked me if I missed them. I took a bite, thought about it. "No," I said. "But I think they'll always miss me." Not the version who showed up with checks and silence, but the man who, for all those years, kept them from falling apart. Now they knew what it meant when that man walked away. And I, finally, knew what it felt like to stand tall, unburdened, and free.